Today, tomorrow, and each day beyond, I will be an advocate for mental health. October 17th, 2018, my life, as well as my family's lives, were forever changed. My mother, the most selfless, passionate, and warm hearted woman, took her own life. Over the last few years, I've reflected on why she made that specific choice. She hid her mental illness from the one she loved most, and for a long time coming, she was feeling hopeless inside. She never once expressed her suicidal thoughts, nor did she say goodbye. There has been anger, tears, individuals who have faded in and out, greed, and uncertainty that has stemmed from this. However, there has also been extraordinary growth, acceptance, and nuance that my family and I have had to adapt to. Due to this, the most tragic moment I've ever had to go through at the raw age of 18 and a freshman in college, I am proud of the person I have become. Without the support and guidance from my amazing dad, I'm not sure where I would be today. This is his perspective on losing his loving wife and the mother of his children so unexpectedly.
48 years old. I live in the town I grew up in. I moved away for about 8 years, but wanted to come back. And I moved for a job and then came back here, got married, had kids, and decided I wanted to raise my kids where I grew up. So moved back. It would have been better for the kids to get out and see the world. There's such a big world out there compared to a tiny town of 2,000 people. But I enjoy it. Been involved in the community.
What about things you learned growing up?
Respect other people. Work hard to get where you want to be. My mom raised me. Still had a relationship with my dad, but I never lived with him. Was always goofing off. School, I was called the class clown every year. Like the outdoors, fishing and hunting, hiking, anything outside. I was 8 years old and I was in that creek fishing every day during the summer. I'd bring fish home and my mother would help me clean them. I had a good childhood. A little bit dicey with being a divorced family because I was stuck in the middle of everything. It kind of teaches you things, the do's and don'ts as a parent. Got married when I was 26 years old.
Yeah, talk about like how you met mom.
We run into each other at the same functions.
Mm-hmm.
She lived in the next town over, but we all ran around together. Moved away and came back here for a fish fry at a friend's house, and she was there, and we hit it off. We wanted to be with each other all the time. And we lived an hour and a half apart, so we got to see each other as much as we possibly could. Sometimes we just drive over just for one night. And then I ended up getting a job back here and moving back. And 6 months later, her and I moved in together. And then left Arizona and had an outdoor wedding. Came home, and 10 months later, you were born. A few years later, started trying to have another child and lost one, and then kind of gave up after trying longer and didn't think that we would be able to have another child. And then when we gave up, your sister came. And then just kind of lived our life as a family. Went on little road trips together all the time. We modeled a house. That took 17 years. And then all of a sudden, the whole world came crashing down.
What do you miss most about her being around?
Her smile is one big thing I miss. Big time. Ages laugh. And I feel like her foundation as a family kind of got broken in half, and I miss it being more, really solid. A lot of pain and a lot of wondering and whys. And I mean, I feel blessed that through everything that you two and I went through together, that I was able to find some happiness again. I still have a million questions in my head. I have some guilt inside me that I was her person. I was her husband. I was the person that was supposed to know her the best. And I couldn't recognize what she was going through. I had no idea she was hurting as bad as she was. So that's a giant regret. 2 months after she died, I looked and searched through every single thing I possibly could. Where would she have left something? A time that I'll never forget, and it's definitely not that I didn't have a strong bond with you and your sister to begin with, but it definitely cemented our bonds. You two became my focus, was protecting you. I found a little more peace than you and your sister have.
I think it's more for me, it is like the milestones that we go into from our teenage years into adulthood and, getting married and having babies. And
you're never going to have your mom there for her. You had your mom up, and then right after high school is when all that happened. So you had your mom through all that, which I'm sure you were so thankful for.
What did your mind and body feel like being alone right after it happened?
Numb. I had no feeling. Just completely numb. Lowest I'd ever been. I mean, most traumatic thing that ever happened to me. I never had anxiety about anything.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I did. Still a strong-willed person that I've always been.
The siren in town was kind of triggering for me for a long time after.
You hear that emergency sirens going off, and then you find out that it's your mother, why they're going off. It's definitely going to trigger you.
Like the morning when everything happened.
It's a blur. Pure panic and mayhem. Knew that she left to go to the gas station, and she never came back. And we're calling her. And the whistle goes off, and then we go out and start looking for her. And all I can say is thank God that you did not drive up on that scene. And I wanted to know what the fire call was. And he said it was an accident. And I asked him if it was my wife, and he said yes. He said, Brian, do not come over here. He said, go home, and the chief of police will be over to talk to you soon. Right then, I knew that she was dead.
Yeah.
I knew. My whole thing was get you guys back to the house and get you in the house so you didn't have to be around it when the police came to talk to me. Mm-hmm. That was one thing that amazed me, how it affected the local police who I'm friends with that I see every day, because they were there on scene and they knew your mom.
Right.
And emotionally it affected them horribly. Single one of them I talked to when I was either talking to them in person the day of or on the phone after that for 2 months after that, random phone calls that I would make or they would make. And every single time you could tell that they were crying. The outpouring of support that we got from this community was unbelievable. I mean, we had 650 people come to the celebration of life, stood in line and greeted every single one of them. Like, there were people that didn't even really know us, but they knew our story. They knew that we were involved in the community. I was mayor. They knew that we just cared about everybody in our town. And they just wanted to come say they're sorry. I remember this mother brought her daughter. I had no idea who these people were. And they came through the line. They came up to me, and the mother said, she goes, we don't really know you, but we know of you. And we just wanted to come say we're sorry. And her daughter looked at me and said, thank you for taking care of our town. I'd never seen so much food dropped off at a house in one. Didn't eat for 10 days. It was super hard living in that house that we built as a family. Walking into that home, and everything in there was things that your mom either bought or we bought together that she wanted to decorate that home. Probably didn't want to leave the home, but I think in the end it was best for both of you. And I mean, I had gotten remarried.
Yeah.
And it wasn't fair to Kara to have to live in the home that she didn't build with me, I mean, it was 2 years later that we sold the house. I told you and your sister from the beginning that we were never going to move on from that we were never going to let go of it, never going to forget it. We needed to move forward and eventually find some peace.
Yeah.
And I kept telling you guys that through that entire process. And I meant it. Thank God that we were able to get some solid support. We got to see a lot of people, but I sure would have rather seen them under different circumstances. We're going to have a train come by.